Hi friends, I welcome you again to this systematic expository study of the verb forms. The verb is an essential word class which its uses is very indispensable in sentence making. As important as the verbs are, we can say categorically on confidence that the sentences cannot do without the verbs. That's why it is very important when we talk about the verb as a word form in English language. We are looking at their various forms. From what we have established on the board, we have decided to group. Already you can see a table before us here. So we need to categorically group the various verb forms, stating their groups. Now, if you look at what we have here, you can see these columns. We have about 5 different columns. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the first column is talking about the present tense forms of the verbs, but in their singular aspects. And we have the present tense forms of the verbs too in their plurals. Here is talking about the past tense forms of the verbs, which can be used as singular or plural. And here we have the progressive tense forms of the verbs. That's the one by extension where we talk about the present continuous. So we have the column here, and the last column is the perfect tense forms of the verbs. The perfect tense are also referred to as the past participle. All right. Now from the present tense, the first column, which is talking about the present tense forms of the verbs in their singular. If you notice the words that we've obtained here, we have the first one, comes. We have runs, goes, does, walks, smiles, eats, gives, and cuts. Now, something is very important we take note of, which is the fact that the present tense forms of the verbs in their singular forms, they admit ers. If you look at what we have on the board, you notice that all the verb forms here, they all admit ers. And that is because they are in their singular forms. But in their plural forms, still present tense, we have to write them thus. Comes becomes come. And runs becomes run. Goes, we have it as go. This is does, which will be do in their plural form. Walks should be walk. And smiles will give us smile. We have eats as eat. Gives as give. Cuts as cut. Now, let's take note of the fact that these forms of the verbs are present tense actually, but they are in their plural forms. That's why we've removed the s. In their singular forms, like I said, there must be the presence of the s because they are in their singular forms. All right, we come over to this column where we have the past tense forms of the verbs. And in this column, they can be used as singular or plural in sentences. Now, for the come, we should have came. And run here should be ran. The past tense form of run is ran. Then we have go as went. And do should be did. And walk should be walked. And we have smile as smiled. We have eat as ate. And the next one is give, which will be gave. What about this? Cut remains cut. These ones are always stable. They don't change. In their present tense form, it is caught. The past tense form should be same caught. Now we move over to the progressive. Like I told you, in the progressive tense, we also call them as present continuous. And they are those verbs that admit ing. So that we have coming. And we have run as running. We have go as going. The next one, do as doing. And walk gives us walking. The next one is smile as smiling. And eat as eating. Give, given. Cut, cutting. All right, because these ones are in the progressive tense, like I told you, the progressive tense are those ones that admit ing. In sentences, we use them as action that are, continuous. They are in progress. When we use them in sentences, we discover that they should be in progress. Expressions in the progressive tense are expressions that are presently taking place at a point in time. That is progressive. Now, in the last column, where we have the perfect tense or the past participle, this should be the same thing we have here as come. And run will also give us the same thing as run. All right? For the go, it should be gone. Because we are talking about past participle. That means actions that had already taken place. And then we have do as done. Walk, walked. We notice something. Here we have walked in the past tense forms, and we have the same walked in the past perfect tense. So they have the same shape in their past tense form and past perfect. Smile, the same thing happened to smile, which is smiled. And the next one, ate, should be eaten. Gave should be given. Then cut remains cut. Okay, we've successfully filled the rows with the various verb forms. Now, if you discover what we have here, we are going to look at them critically to iron out things that we need to know. Very, very important. Now, we notice something. We have this come and run in the present tense forms of the verbs, plural. The same shape they took or form they took here is the same thing, the same way they appear in their perfect tense. We have the words pronounced the same and spelled the same way, but their groups is not the same. Here they are present tense forms of the verbs in their plural. Here they are perfect tense, that is past participle. But the point is that they take the same form. They appear the same way. Now, if we look at the second one, that's go and do, that's the two of them. In their perfect tense, these two, in their present tense, which is plural, here they change outrightly. Their forms change outrightly. The next one is the walked, and smiled, which we have in the past tense forms of the verbs and which can be used, of course, as singular and plural in sentences. Look at it. The way they appeared here is equally the way they appeared here, the same way they are spelled in their perfect tense. And then we have eat and give, they change outrightly, eaten and given. And then here, caught, we have it here as caught. Now, that will take us to the types of verbs we shall talk about because of these changes and similarities as we are looking at them already. There is what we call the regular verbs and the irregular verbs. For the regular verbs, these are the species or the groups of the verbs that possess ed in their spellings. That is ed, as we are seeing already here, in their past tense form. That's in their simple past tense form, as well as their past participle. Now, if you look at what we have here, walked and smiled, they possess ed, and in their past perfect tense, they also possess the same ed. So to say, for the regular verbs, they are the groups of the verbs that admit ed, that is ed like this, in their simple past tense form as well as their past participle. That's their past perfect. That's what we call regular verbs. And we also have the irregular verbs, which are the group of the verbs or the species of the verbs that appear differently. The way they appear in their present form changes when it comes to past tense, simple past tense, and it also changes when we come to past participle. Example, we have eat and give in the present tense form as plural verbs. Now look at what we have here. In their past tense form, eat turns to ate and give turns to gave. In their past perfect, it becomes eaten and given. Now you can see their spelling changes and their look, everything about them changes. That's why they are irregular verbs. Irregular verbs because they are not steady. They differ. That means their appearance does not take the same form or nature when we specify them in these categories. Like I said, in the present tense form, the eat and give, it becomes this, or it takes the shape. And in their simple past tense, they are written this way, ate and gave. And then in their past perfect tense, it is eaten and given. Now, like I said, they are categorized under the irregular verbs. Part of the irregular verbs are also these, come and run. Of course, their group in the irregular verbs is actually, different from the groups that where it, give, and then belong to, Now, but in the case of caught, it is caught here. It is also caught here. Actually, parts of the irregular verbs, but they remain the same. We can classify or categorize them as constant verbs in the irregular verbs. If you've enjoyed what you've watched, I want you to kindly subscribe to our channels. It gives you a notification each time we upload a new video. Thank you very much.